Who is the worst traitor in human history? Campbells at Glencoe were pretty despicable. Edit for reference. The Glencoe Massacre, 1692, was a brutal episode in Scottish history where government soldiers, many from Clan Campbell, under orders from King William III, killed 38 members of Clan MacDonald of Glencoe. The MacDonalds had delayed swearing allegiance to the king after the Glorious Revolution, and this was used as a pretext for punishment. The most infamous part was that the Campbell soldiers had been living as guests among the MacDonalds for nearly 2 weeks, sharing food and shelter, before turning on them in the early morning hours. It was not just a massacre, it was a betrayal, seen as a chilling example of state-sanctioned violence and clan politics. The event left a lasting scar and symbolized the deep mistrust between Highland clans and the central government. One of the historical inspirations George Martin used for the Red Wedding. There is an old tradition that if you have a Campbell to dinner, the table is not set with knives. Corfitz Alfelt is not well known outside of Scandinavia, but very bad. In a quick recap, he was in a top position under the Danish king in the mid-17th century, but did a bunch of corrupt stuff allegedly, and fled to Sweden, who had been the mortal enemies of Denmark for hundreds of years. Here he started working for the Swedish king, and didn't just tell him every Danish secret he knew, but deliberately did everything he could to enrage the Swedes against the Danes, so they would declare them war. After a few years he succeeded, and he didn't just help the Swedish troops from the front lines, again with a bunch of important information about the Danish army and the landscape. He also let the Swedish king borrow insane amounts of money from him that he had stolen from the Danish treasury, money that was then used to buy mercenaries for the invasion. The Swedes won, and Alfeld got his own lands back and even a Danish island for his troubles. But it was not long before the Swedish king also started being annoyed with Alfeld, who now fled back to Denmark, where he was arrested. For some insane reason he was eventually allowed to leave the country because he said he needed to go to a spa for his health. Of course he didn't go to a spa and fled Denmark once again. This time he went to a bunch of different kings in Europe and tried to get them in on his crazy schemes essentially. He also gave the skull of one of the biggest Danish saints to the French, another thing he had stolen. He even tried to arrange a coup of the Danish throne, but without luck. The Danes never got him again, but his wife was famously imprisoned in a tower for 22 years, essentially in her husband's place. Alfeld was so hated in Denmark that a statue of shame was erected for him that people were supposed to spit on as they walked past. It stood in Copenhagen for hundreds of years. We need to bring back the spit statues. Quite a few people deserve them. Whoever invented the skip ad button, but made it appear after you have already watched the full ad. I have more anger for Facebook ads over videos. The X button is ridiculously tiny, and sometimes it moves right when I am about to press it, so I end up opening up the ad anyway. Absolutely diabolical. Ephialtes of Trechis. He allegedly showed the Persians the mountain path so that they could defeat the Spartans at Thermopylae. Viken Quisling, Philippe Pétain, Anton Mussert, Leon de Grelle, Ferenc Shalasi, Joseph Tiso, Antti Pavelic, Milan Nedic, all the people who collaborated with the Nazis against their own countrymen. Pétain is a big one in my book. He was the answer to me. He went from the highest high to the lowest low. These other traitors had big moments, but none went from the guy who literally saved his homeland in its darkest hour to the guy that betrayed it and sold it into servitude. To accomplish that in one lifetime is truly remarkable. I might be biased, but Pol Pot, he turned on his own country and brought upon the slaughter of millions of innocent men, women and children. They say he preferred to use hammers on his victims to conserve ammunition. Donald John Trump. Kim Philby, the British MI6 agent turned Soviet spy. Philby knew almost everything going on against Eastern European communist countries, things like agents being dropped into various countries who had already been burnt by Philby to the Soviets. Hundreds were executed thanks to him. The UK got its revenge on the USSR with Oleg Gordievsky, the KGB chief resident of the British Embassy, who was a double agent for the British for 11 years. Rebecca from my 4th grade class. She said she was in love with me but was just lying because she and her friends thought it would be funny. Tarring and feathering is too good for her and people like her. It took years of therapy before I could accept that someone could care about me even a little bit. Really surprised that I haven't seen anyone mention Brutus yet. I think that's more because Brutus's betrayal was against one man, whereas others, like all the politicians who betrayed their country to the Nazis, betrayed the trust the people put on them. Brutus's betrayal was a massive blow to Julius Caesar, but not for anyone else. That red Judas. I can't believe I had to scroll this far down to find Judas. It will be Donald Trump when the history is written. Everyone is worried about the stock market and inflation, when the true damage he and his corrupt, incompetent administration are wreaking on our society and the rest of the world. Nobody will remember what the price of eggs was. Someone who intentionally spread their HIV to other people. For this and other reasons, Roy Cohn, Mark Zuckerberg, and most of the other big tech CEOs. Hear me out. Social media has literally destroyed a generation. Kids who went through puberty with Instagram and TikTok will have their brains permanently f***ed for attention span and general behavioral impulse control. Thomas Midgley Jr., the American who betrayed humanity for the sake of profit, and arguably ended being responsible for more indirect deaths than any other human being on Earth. Not really fair, as he didn't know the damage freons and leaded petrol would cause. He was just solving problems with chemistry. Benedict Arnold betrayed his own people all because he felt he was not getting the laurels he deserved, even though he already had plenty. When the British learned there was a man on the inside, feeding them info, they thought it was a low-ranked soldier. When they found out it was actually a decorated man, they were really annoyed, but kept face as they needed Arnold to play his scheme out. It was seen as a massive dishonor that an officer with responsibility over other soldiers would betray his own men. In the end, when he defected to the British, they gave him a lower rank than they promised, paid him less than he expected, and a lot of the British made it known they did not respect him for his actions. When he eventually died in London, his funeral was completed without military honors, which is about as you scummy twat as it would get in gentleman terms at that time. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, his crimes include stacking the Supreme Court and federal judiciary, helping to shut down the government, not removing Trump from office, and protecting insurrectionists. Edit to add, McConnell betrayed his oath to defend and uphold the Constitution. The consequences are at the least, the current constitutional crisis, a trade war, the loss of US dollar dominance, and stagflation. It's possible that his betrayal may allow Trump to start a real war with China. We would fight alone. No one would defend us. The worst consequence of McConnell's betrayal is to the climate. Our lack of leadership on this will cause unbelievable damage to future humanity. It's possible that McConnell's betrayal is the linchpin to humanity's extinction. Thomas Edison. He took the inventions of the people who worked for them and published them in his name. Then, he left them broken without any credit to be able to continue being inventors. Nikola Tesla is a great example. The US is taught that Edison made all these things. Meanwhile, in Canada, we are taught that Edison stole his ideas through a contract loophole and left Tesla broke and bereft. A kid named Tommy, who ratted me out in first grade for calling Miss Redcliffe, Miss Red's jumping off a cliff. It's been over 30 years and I have not forgotten your snitching, Tommy, you little shit. The Catholic Church, they helped surviving Nazis flee to safe havens, and helped reallocate, launder their stolen wealth. Mir Jafar was one of the most influential people under the reign of Siraj-ud-Dowlah, the ruler of Bengal till 1757. The British did a lot of trade in Bengal, peacefully initially, but when they began amassing armies and began influencing people, Siraj-ud-Dowlah stepped in and took control of British factories. Even though the British called all of their armies set up throughout India back to Bengal, they still would never have won without mainland support from Britain, which would not reach there for months. But when Siraj-ud-Dowlah sent his armies to what should have been an easy victory, his general Mir Jafar turned on him, using the man under his wing, which was a substantial portion of the army, against the king's own man. Once Siraj-ud-Dowlah was defeated, Mir Jafar sat on the throne as a puppet Nawab, giving monthly payments to the British. Ironically, the poison he spread stung him too, as once the British started putting more and more influence on him, he started ignoring his role as a puppet and tried to fight them off. But he himself had made the British so powerful that he could no longer be of any threat to them, especially considering his weak army. That's how this betrayal won the British their first war in India, and also led them to rule Bengal themselves. It's entirely possible that it was this betrayal that led to the British being strong enough to take over the country, leading to 190 years of plunder, of wealth today's elite could only dream of. The banks, conglomerates and billionaires, who are happily hoarding wealth and resources while nonchalantly watching society crumble around them. Whatever shithead invented the mobile game ed setup, where you watch 15 seconds of it, hit the skip button. It takes you to an end screen. You wait 5 more seconds for the X button. Then you click that and it pulls up yet another App Store page that you have to click out of. Andrei Vlasov, he was a Russian general during Second World War, who switched sides and fought with the Nazis, helping recruit disillusioned Russians and posed to his Russian Liberation Army. Thanks for watching. Share your opinion in the comments. Please support the channel by liking and subscribing. It will help a lot.